Welcome to another Panel Company video where today we are going to show you how to install ceiling panels. The first thing we are going to do is work out how many boards you will need and cut them to the correct length. To do this, we first need to work out which way you would like the boards to run across your ceiling. Ideally, you want the boards to be long enough but with little wastage. Once you know the orientation that you would like the boards, you can now measure the width of your ceiling. You can divide this by the width of the ceiling boards you are using, and this will determine how many boards you will need. For example, our width is 1250 millimeters and the board we are using is 250 millimeters. Dividing these together gives us 5 boards. If you have an uneven number at the end of this, you can round it up, but please note this means you will have to cut the final board. Now that we know how many boards we need, we can now measure the length to cut them to the correct size. If you know your walls are even, you can use this measurement across all of your boards. However, if you feel that the wall is not even, please make sure you measure for each board before installing. This will ensure every ceiling panel fits flush against the wall with no gaps. We will now show you how to cut your panels. The first thing you will want to do is measure the board using the measurement you got when you measured the length of your ceiling. If your board is quite thick and you're using a Stanley blade, you'll want to measure and cut the board with the pattern facing up to ensure it doesn't chip. Once you have rolled out the tape measure, you will want to mark your measurement at least 3 places across the board to ensure that we can use them to draw a straight line across. We will now show you how to cut with a Stanley blade. You can use a ruler, spirit level, or a spare piece of board in order to draw your straight line. You will then want to use the Stanley blade and score the board a few times before snapping it off for a clean finish. If you are worried about the cut not being straight, you can use a ruler or a spirit level as a guide and cut along. If you are using a chop saw like the one showing, the only thing you need to do is ensure the blade is sharp and that the blade is at full speed before chopping down on your board to ensure it doesn't chip the end of the board. The final thing before applying adhesive and installing the board is to first ensure that we slice off the groove for the first board. This is the smaller piece of the 2 sides and ensures the panel sits flush against the wall. The easiest way to do this is with a Stanley blade and using around a 45-degree angle. We are now ready to apply the adhesive. If you have a plasterboard ceiling or textured ceiling or chipboard, pink grip will be perfect for this. If you would prefer quicker instant grab, we also offer maximum torque. We will list these in the video description for you. If you have a tiled ceiling or anything with a smooth gloss finish, then we would recommend silicone. We now need to load the silicone gun and apply the adhesive. If you have a textured ceiling, you will want to do a dotted pattern with plenty of adhesive. This ensures it gets between the textures and bonds with the board. For any other surface, a zigzag pattern will be perfect. Now that we have applied the adhesive, we can go on to installing the boards. This is as simple as placing the board on the ceiling with the groove we cut out flush against the wall. You will then want to apply pressure evenly across the entire board to ensure the adhesive spreads. To ensure the board stays in place while the adhesive sets, we are going to use a staple gun to staple the tongue to the ceiling. This ensures the board doesn't move while the adhesive sets. There is no correct amount of staples, we usually add one after every 300mm. When installing the next board, this is just as simple, however you'll want to make sure you come at a slight angle to ensure it fits correctly into the previous board. You can then place it flush against the ceiling and apply even pressure again to spread the adhesive. Once installed, we can then staple the tongue of this panel as well. Repeat this step for the rest of your ceiling. If the gap left at the end of your ceiling isn't big enough for one panel, you can cut this down just like we did with the length. We would recommend doing this with a Stanley blade. Now that the boards are installed, our last step is for those who are installing lights or any other ceiling accessories. You will first want to measure where you would need the hole and leave a mark. It's then as simple as using a hole saw to cut through the board. If you're using a batten surface where there is a gap between your boards and the ceiling above, be careful as you near the other side of the board as to not damage it. As you can see, the hole saw method leaves a perfect hole and is much smoother than using a Stanley blade. Thank you for watching this video. We hope it's helped you install your ceiling panels. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.